Yeah, otherwise the ink will exactly just run if I don't rub off a little of the gloss there. Thank you so much for coming by. Thanks.
Hey, this is Steampunk Starways at AmberStreet.com, and I'm here with this awesome gentleman, Chris Claremont, very famous X-Men writer. And what have you been working on lately, sir?
Just Nightcrawler.
Nightcrawler, okay. And I heard you say off camera you were talking about the sales are not that good for modern comics?
Well, it's all a matter of perspective. The sales in the 21st century are significantly less than they were in the late 80s and early 90s when the Marvel age theoretically was hitting its peak. But then again, the sales then are less than they were in the 50s and beginning of the 60s when a great many books sold in the millions.
Yeah, comics used to be much more mainstream. Now they're kind of a niche market, especially after the crash of '93.
Unfortunately, yes.
Yeah. And I was just fascinated with I have a theory about that. You were talking about, is it because the books are $5? I think it's a multitude of reasons that comic book readership is down.
Well, the paradox is I'm not sure if the readership is down or just the purchasing of the books is down. The collector mentality has evolved. A lot of readers are thinking, well, why buy the monthly comics? I'll wait for the trade paperback. I'll wait for the compilation. I'll wait for the hardcover. I'll wait for the group.
Well, it's because it's cheaper and you get better bang for your buck. Usually it's a reprint of like 10 issues.
Theoretically,
yeah.
The paradox is if the original series doesn't sell, there's every possibility that there won't be a trade reprint.
When I was a kid, it was like 35, 40 cents for a comic book, and I would just get spare pocket change from my parents and buy comics at the newsstand at the 7-Eleven. But you can't do that anymore. The 7-Elevens have no comics, and they're $5 a book. And I think the biggest reason that a lot of people don't talk about for the decline of readership in comics is that people can't afford $5 a book because if you adjust for inflation, wages have been going down for 40 years.
Oh, I have no argument with that, but that's the problem is that the company's perception comes from a totally different level of commitments. I mean, it's easier to charge 10 cents a book when you're paying $50 a page for the pencils, inks, and script.
Yeah.
And coloring and lettering. I was the first writer to get $12 a page.
Oh, wow.
Well, okay, that means for a book today, that's $200. Well, the reality is that the current market mandates paying an appropriate wage.
Yeah.
And having made that investment, the companies feel the books have to reflect that in the price they charge. Much the same way that if you're spending $200 million to make a movie, it inspires the theaters to charge $15 to get in the door, especially if it's 3D.
No, I feel you, but I mean, I'm saying like the average reader or the average potential reader is not making, if you adjust for inflation, is not making as much money as they used to 40 years ago.
Without adjusting for inflation, we're not making as much money as we used to 15, 20 years ago. My page rate hasn't changed in 20 years.
Oh, fair enough.
I understand. I can't, I have lots of ideas, but I'm not in a position to suggest them or act on them. So basically, I'm like everybody else. I roll with the punches and try and make do as best I can in the reality that exists.
Fair enough. You got to make the best of what you have. And I have 3 final questions. The first one was, how was it like working with Stan Lee? Do you still work with Stan Lee? No.
He lives on the West Coast. I live on the East Coast.
Okay. Do you still have a good working relationship, or a good relationship?
Well, yeah. I hope so.
Okay, fair enough. And 2 artists I always wanted to meet that I never got to meet because they've since passed away, sadly. How was it like working with like Steve Ditko and Jack Kirby?
I never worked with Steve, regrettably, and with Jack. When I did work with him, it was fun.
It was amazing.
Totally professional.
Oh.
Well, again, he was on the left coast. I was in New York. He was doing Captain America. I was proofreading Captain America, which led to some interesting circumstances from time to time. But it's like anywhere else. You roll with the punches and try to make the book as eloquent and articulate as the author intended.
I agree, and you do it quite well, sir. And
I was young and foolish.
And I have your permission to use this on AmberStreet.com. This is Steampunk Star Raising, and I will see you 25 billion years. I will.